The Tom Woods Show, episode 2258.
Prepare to set fire to the index card of allowable opinion. Your daily dose of liberty education starts here. The Tom Woods Show.
Hey, everybody, we all know it is time for us to break up, but everybody's status quo bias is standing in the way of this obvious and humane solution. Check out my brand new ebook called National Divorce: The Peaceful Solution to Irreconcilable Differences, which you can get for free at nationaldivorce.com. Hey, everybody, Tom Woods here. I'm delighted to have our old friend Matt McWilliams back on the program. Matt is part of two different worlds that I belong to. He's part of the Libertarian world. He, at one time, chaired the Moore County, North Carolina Libertarian Party of Moore County, North Carolina. How about that? And he is also, I think, a major figure in the world of internet marketing, where he is, I call him affiliate manager to the stars, because he has managed the affiliate end of some product launches and affiliate campaigns of people like Ryan Levesque and Michael Hyatt, who's a big, big name, and Stu McLaren, and a lot of people I admire. Matt has been behind the scenes making things work for their big-time seven-figure sales, and he has a brand new book called Turn Your Passions into Profits: The Proven Path for Building a Rewarding Online Business. Matt, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me again, Tom.
All right. Look, we got plenty to talk about here. Obviously, in this day and age, I would say that if people have not come to the conclusion that at the very least, it would be useful to know in a pinch how to put together at least a side hustle specifically online, so therefore it's much harder to be shut down. I don't know what it would take at this point. I don't know what it would take to persuade somebody that at the very least you want this knowledge. And at the very least, if you don't wind up using it, you want your kids to have this knowledge. You do not want to leave them helpless figuring out how to navigate this crazy economy and this increasingly crazy world. I mean, I want my kids, eventually when they're at an appropriate age, I want them to read this book. I want them to know what to do. So I don't even have a question in there, Matt. That's just me talking.
I had a few copies the other night. We were doing a mailing for some people who had ordered like bulk copies of the pre-order copies. And so they get a signed book. And so I was at my son's soccer practice, and my daughter was with me. So she just picked up one of the books. And then I look over like 45 minutes later and she's reading it. I'm like, she's 11. I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm reading your book. It's fascinating. I'm like, all right, I got an endorsement from my 11-year-old. So yeah, it can, any age. It really is for just about any age.
Geez, you know what? Maybe they are ready for it now that I think about it. Yeah, maybe they are ready for it.
I think it's true. I mean, I know we're big fans of the Tuttle twins, and if that doesn't kind of turn your kids into little entrepreneurs, I don't know what will.
Yeah, no kidding.
So I think that's part of it, is just they've seen it with me. Neither of my kids. I mean, my daughter was 8 months old when I went out on my own. I'd had a side hustle for a couple of years. So neither kid's ever known daddy or mommy to do anything other than be an entrepreneur. And they see the ups and the downs of it. They see it's not all 100% glamorous. It's not all what you see on social media. They don't post on social media about crying at 4 a.m. because the video files somehow magically got deleted when you're 2 days.
Yeah, or you recorded the video and for some reason there was no audio and you have no idea why.
Yeah. We did that. I shot an entire 2 days in the studio, and we did not realize it because we were listening without earbuds. We didn't realize that the audio was terrible, and wasted 2 days when I didn't have 2 days to waste. And they see those sides, and they both still want to be entrepreneurs. So yeah, I think it's a timeless thing. We've surveyed the people who bought the book so far, who pre-ordered it. We've surveyed my audience, and most of the people buying it are in their mid 40s to early 50s. They're doing it as an encore career. But yeah, even an 11-year-old can get something out of the book.
All right. So let's start talking about what this could look like. Now, there are a bunch of different models that somebody could follow. If you want to run a business from, let's say, your laptop, you could do drop shipping, a drop shipping based model. That holds no appeal for me. But for some people who are just getting started, they might feel like that's a way to build a business without needing an audience. You could just do it through paid ads or whatever. But that could be kind of hit or miss. I mean, if you hit big. You can hit really big with that. So there are a bunch of different approaches, but yours is pretty much mine. What you're describing is pretty much what I do. on the business end of things, which is why you call it turn your passions into profits. If you do drop shipping stuff, you could be drop shipping any old product. Doesn't necessarily have to be anything that you're interested in. Whereas the idea that you're putting forth here is that you can take something that you actually enjoy doing anyway, that you're particularly devoted to anyway. You like talking about it. You like introducing people to it. You like helping people get better at it, whatever it is. And you can, in many cases, actually make a living doing this thanks to the technology we have today. So let's get into what that looks like. And in particular, I think among the most valuable parts of the book, and in fact, apparently Bob Bly agrees with me, he's also been a guest on the show, is when you try to talk to people about how to pick what area you should go into. You've got a really good discussion of that. So how should people think about figuring that out? Because that is the most momentous decision they have to make.
It is. And to your point, I mean, you said the technology available to us today. I'll be the first to admit that I couldn't have possibly have written this book 22 years ago. Not only did I not have the experience, and I was 21 years old, so I was by default I was an idiot. Not only could I have not written it for those reasons, but it wasn't possible. Doing what I write about in the book was not possible 20 some odd years ago, just because one of the quotes in the book that has really stood out, as I said, it's never been easier to get noticed than at any point in human history. You can post something to social media and you don't have to be a quote unquote influencer and 30 people can see it. If you go back even just 100 years, most people didn't even know 30 people outside of their family, let alone people in other counties and states and things like that. Because of that, it's never been easier to get noticed. It's never been harder to stand out. There's a correlation between those two. And so standing out's never been harder. And we walk you through that in there. But we asked 3 questions. So these are the questions I've gone through with clients, students over the years. Like, how do we actually get a little bit clear on what is my passion? Who do I serve? How am I going to take this thing that I think I might be passionate about, but I'm not sure, turn it into a profitable business? And the first question is, what is it that people are always asking you for help with? So for me, it wasn't what I thought it was. I started a blog 10 years ago. I was writing about personal development and leadership because, Tom, I wanted to be the next John Maxwell, the next Tony Robbins, the next person who was making an impact on people by helping them be more productive and change their lives. And I was helping people, but I just wasn't really all that great at it. It was a challenge for me. I'm a personal growth junkie. I'm a leadership junkie. I read hundreds of books every couple of years on leadership and personal development, but I'm not an expert at it in that regard. So what is it that people are always asking you for help with? People were coming to me. The things they were asking for, how do I start an affiliate program? How do I get into affiliate marketing? How do I grow my list? Those type of things. How do I start an online business? How do I capture attention in a noisy marketplace and build a raving fan community? Those are the things people were asking me for help with. So what is it that people are always asking you for help with? The second one is, what is it that people tell you is really interesting about you? I don't know if you're a fan of Hardcore History with Dan Carlin, but it's one of my favorite podcasts because I'm a history buff. Yeah, I listen to a lot of personal growth books and read a lot of books like that, but for enjoyment, I'm reading history. I'm fascinated by history. I know way more about American history in particular than any human being would ever need to know. So don't play Trivial Pursuit with me if we're playing like Presidential Trivia Edition, because I'll probably kick your butt. And not that that makes me any money, but I'm fascinated by this. And Dan Carlin has this amazingly popular podcast, but he's not a historian. And so how did that come about? And it came about because he'd be sitting at dinner on Thanksgiving and they'd be talking about something. And next thing you know, he'd go on a diatribe about the Battle of the Bulge and this one soldier, and this thing happened to this one soldier. And people are like riveted by him telling these stories of history. And if that doesn't work, if you get through those two and you're still not 100% clear on what your passion is, the third question is, what did you struggle with, but you now enjoy success at? And the longest story in the book, it's my favorite in the whole book, is my friend Alan Thomas. Alan's a weight loss coach. Alan, about 6 years ago, woke up, got on the scale, weighed 304 pounds. 9 months later, he weighed 175. And he's like, Matt, these are his words, not mine. He said, I was the husky teenager. I was the fat 20-year-old. I was an obese 30-year-old. And I was just about to die when I was 55 because I realized he was in life insurance that I'd never met an obese 70-year-old. None of my clients ever lived more than 10 years if they were massively overweight. And he's like, I'm going to be Angie's first husband. Somebody else is going to walk my daughter down the aisle and I'm going to be dead in 5 years. I've got to change my life. And so his people today are people who come to him and they're in the same boat that he was. They're 50 years old. They're 45 years old. They're 55 years old. They've been overweight for 30 years and he shows them how to do it. So at the end of those three questions, 99.9% of the people we work with are 100% crystal clear on exactly what their passion is and how to begin to go down the path towards monetization.
All right, let's take as an example somebody who's lost a lot of weight. The other side of the argument would be there are a million people who have lost a lot of weight and a million people who are online trying to explain to people how to do it. So what is the next step for me to take that knowledge and somehow get people to look at me instead of the 999,999 other people?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it starts like from a mindset side. It starts from realizing that, okay, just because there's other people saying the same thing, none of those people have the same exact life experience as you. None of those people have the same credentials as you. None of those people have the same style or method of communicating as you. We're all different in that regard. There might be 100,000 people out there saying the same thing. Half of them are men, half of them are women. Right there, whichever one you are, you're different than half of them. All right. So then you look at it and break it down by age. Alan is 62, 63 years old. He stands out. Less than a few thousand of the people in that industry are his age. Most of them are younger. The other way he stands out is he stands out because of his story. So we start really narrowing that down. And then we go to, okay, he's a white man. So he stands out from a black man. And then, okay, but the reverse could be true. And then there's this and there's that. And there's things like your style and the way that you communicate and your method of teaching. Some people communicate, you have a podcast, but you also have great emails. But you don't, that I know of, unless you started doing this and didn't, and I didn't notice it, you don't do a lot of long form, like 5,000 word blog posts. That's not your way of communicating. Somebody else out there has the same message as you or a similar message. I would put them in the libertarian bucket, right? But they're doing long form essays. That doesn't mean that you're right or they're wrong. They're just different. So you find those ways to stand out. And that's one of the things that you got to do is you got to capture that attention. So things like your style and your personality, your writing style, your speaking style. If you're from the South, by gosh, turn up the Southern accent a little bit. You'll stand out. Your physical appearance. If you're in an industry that's a little bit more buttoned up and you've got tattoos, don't roll your sleeves down, roll them up. You won't attract everyone. The people who want the button down people are not going to be attracted to you. But the people who are like, dude has a tattoo, that's kind of cool. Like, I'm interested in hearing what he has to say. Your clothes, like these are all ways that you can stand out. I talked about it in the book. There's an interview with Chris Rock a few years ago. And Chris is, he's one of my favorite comedians. I love his style personally. And they were like, Chris, are you like this all the time? And he's like, no. Said, I'm me. When I'm on stage, I'm me, but I'm 3 times me. In other words, it's like if you've ever been to the county fair and they do the little caricature things, like you would have no hair, Tom, because they take the thing that accentuates, whether it be physically or whatever. If you've got slightly large ears, then your ears are Dumbo sized, right? They make this caricature of you because it stands out. Like you're not being disingenuous, you're just standing out. The second thing is just your experience. Everybody has different experience. You've got degrees or you don't have degrees. You've got awards that you've won. I'm 4-time affiliate manager of the year. And of course I share that every time I can because that's a way of me saying like nobody else has ever done that. Nobody on earth has ever done that thing. There's one guy that's won 3 and I'm trying to stay ahead of him. The places you've worked. Like there are people whose entire qualification for writing books is they worked at Google or Apple. That's it. But it stands out. Even lack of experience can be an advantage. I ran for school board back in 2002 in my county and I got in there. There's a guy named Jeff. I cannot remember his name, but the Libertarian, the party newsletter that came out every month. I don't know if it still does because I don't get the newsletter, but there's a guy named Jeff in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I still remember his website was electjeff.org. And I'm like, I want to be like him. He got elected to the school board as a libertarian, even though it's a nonpartisan race. Still, he didn't have any party establishment helping him there. And I was like, I want to do that. So I ran for school board and I almost won. I was the youngest person at the time, I don't know if it's still true, to make it through a primary in North Carolina. And the entire premise of my campaign was, I graduated high school 4 years ago. I can relate to these kids. That was it. That was my entire thing. My slogan was a new age in education. And I remember there was a lady who got up and was like, I've been in education for 45 years, had a park named after and all that stuff. And my response was, I've been alive for half that long. So even your lack of experience can actually be a way to stand out. There was nobody else under the age of 50 running for school board. And here I was at 22. Your personal background, that's a way of standing out. Like that's what shaped you. I had a single mom. I grew up in trailer parks, moved 13 times in 14 years, then went on and moved to live with my dad when his career took off. And so next thing you know, I'm traveling the country playing golf and doing all those things. That's a unique perspective. And then the last way, I mentioned it earlier, but your method. So think about, blog posts, podcasts, videos. If you do a podcast, is it going to be interview based or is it going to be a solo show? Are you going to do things live or pre-recorded? Are you going to do are they going to be 10-minute episodes but daily? Or are they going to be 2-hour episodes but weekly? Are you going to write 5,000-word blog posts once every week? Or are you going to write 200-word blog posts daily? We start narrowing it down. So then you think about it, how many people in the such and such niche are male with tattoos that grew up with this environment and deliver their content in this method. And now you're one of one. And that's how you stand out.
Well, of course, we can talk at some point about how you actually, once you've decided what you want to do, and then what it is you want to offer, how you get eyeballs on it. But I will say that in terms of that, I've had an offer for a long time, years now, to my listeners that if you get your web hosting through my link, I'll promote your brand new site on my show, which is not a small thing. And that'll get you at least, it's not going to run your business forever, but it'll get you some initial traffic out of the gate, give you some confidence, maybe make a few sales. So I have a page, tomwoods.com/publicity, where people can go. And if that is appealing to them, I give them that little extra advantage because I thought to myself, okay, well, I got to make a living here. So I make a living by earning a commission on that. But then I think, all right, how can I help them though? Well, what is the key thing that they need the most when they're starting a website? And that's visitors. Well, I can bring them the visitors. So this is a win for everybody. This is a win for everybody. And I just want to remind people that's an option that they have available to. I want to put in parentheses here because it's just an anecdote and it just has to do with my life personally, but I want to get your thoughts on it as long as I have you. I have 5 daughters. My 17-year-old daughter, who's the second oldest, mentioned the other day that one of her friends, whom I've met several times, has a YouTube channel with, get this, 700,000 subscribers. He's 17.
That's awesome.
700,000 subscribers. I said, what is his channel about? And she said, it's about Minecraft. And he has a 700,000 subscriber base on a Minecraft YouTube channel. Now, without knowing that it was Minecraft, my initial thought was, if you have 700,000 YouTube subscribers, you should be earning a 6-figure annual income from that. Do you think I'm exaggerating?
Let me do the math on it. So the average YouTube subscriber, just in terms of advertising, but also if you're doing it right, should be roughly, like a third of a cent per month. So I'd have to kind of do the math on that. Whatever the math is on a third of a cent per month times 700,000 should be roughly what they're making per month.
Okay, well, hold on just a minute.
And I'd have to whip out the calculator to even come close to getting that accurate.
But the thing is, you have to know, look, obviously that's a big chunk. The issue would be, and this is kind of beyond the scope of our conversation, how would you monetize a Minecraft YouTube channel?
That's the key, because a third of a cent is what they're going to make from advertising, roughly. Now, again, those numbers vary. If they're releasing daily content, they're going to make more than somebody who's really has the same number of subscribers and is releasing weekly content. Okay, just to be clear. So that's an average number. It could be as high as 3 cents, which is 10x, depending upon that. That's just what we've heard from YouTube. So most people, their YouTube channel, when they're in the 100,000 subscribers range, their YouTube channel in and of itself doesn't make that much money. It's the everything else they do. It's their own products, their own events. Affiliate marketing is obviously a big one. And so for him, part of it is he's probably built that audience on not having advertising other than just the basic YouTube advertising that we're all used to watching and clicking skip ad as soon as it pops up, right? That's what we do. So for him to begin to introduce monetization opportunities, he's got to be careful, because this is the thing that a lot of people do. They build the audience for months and months or even years and years without monetizing. So what they've done is they've conditioned their audience. They've conditioned their audience just to always expect free, and never have an offer. That's something I love about what you've done, Tom, is at least as far back as I can remember, and it's been a long, long time, you always had some stuff for sale, whether it was your own stuff. It started with affiliate marketing. You had those things so that your audience, if somebody joins your audience today, this is the very first episode they've ever heard, and tomorrow is the very first email they're ever going to get. Not literally every single one, but they're not going to go more than 72 hours without beginning to get something that makes an offer. So at that point, when you then go big on an offer, say 2 months from now, you really go hardcore. You're promoting something, either your own thing or an affiliate offer, and you're all in for 10, 12 days. Your audience doesn't go, oh my gosh, what the heck is this?
Yeah, right. That's, it's Woods. Yeah, that's right.
They're used to it.
Yeah.
They've self-selected and they've done one of two things. They've stuck around and they're like, hey, I like this guy. Or they went, this guy, I don't really like him. I'm gonna leave. Cool. You're happy either way. Like my second favorite answer other than yes is no. It's like I say, like I love when people unsubscribe because I'm like, cool, I got rid of somebody who's not going to buy anything from me. Awesome. And so what I would do is start out with affiliate marketing. In retrospect, the old Chinese proverb, right? The best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is now. So the best time to start is the day that you start your platform, like literally that day. You only got 15 people. If you suck at selling, who cares? 14 of the people have the same last name as you. And so it doesn't matter. There's so many people out there who teach, like, you've heard this crap. They say you got to have X number of followers and you've got to blog for Y number of years and release Z number of episodes. Like, we're not doing algebra here. The gurus, they differ on those numbers. Some people say you got to have 100 followers. Some people say 1,000. Some people say 2,000. They're all wrong. You need one. You need one person who's in your audience to start monetizing because it conditions you, number one, to view that this is a business, not a hobby. And secondly, it conditions your audience from day one. And so I would start doing affiliate marketing. I would tell him, I don't know Minecraft one bit. I literally have no idea what it is to this day other than the t-shirts I've seen, but I'm assuming it's some sort of a game thing. So what are the things that makes it easier to do Minecraft? For most of us, what that means is look at your desktop. And by desktop, I mean your physical desktop. I've got products on my desk right now that I recommend as an affiliate. Your digital desktop, your computer, what are the sites you visit, the things you log into regularly, the softwares that you use. If you're in a niche where it's not a work-related type thing, you're in the gardening niche, go out to your gardening shed. You're in the fitness niche, go to your gym. What are the things that you're recommending? What supplements are you taking? You're in the firearms niche. Okay, so go to your gun closet and look around. What do you use to clean your gun? I don't know. I have no idea because my wife does that. It's weird, I know. And so, what are those things that you're using in your niche? And then those are the types of things where you start recommending those.
Well, one other quick example, just to show, though, that it can really vary depending on how creative you get. I guess you'd call him, I don't know, uncle-in-law. It's my wife's uncle, has a YouTube channel with something like 230,000 subscribers. And it's called, if anybody wants to look it up, he's the Scrap and Pallet Man. And you're not going to believe what he does in his videos.
No way. You're related to that guy?
Do you know him?
I have heard of him. I've seen a couple of his videos. I have a friend of mine that periodically sends me his videos. Yeah.
I've tried to get him on the show. I think he's too shy to do it because it's an amazing story. I mean, he really went from, it's such a rags to riches story that you almost don't believe. He was literally at the rock bottom point in his life. And a couple of years later, he's got this flourishing channel. And you know what he does? He picks through garbage. He goes down the street.
That's all it is.
Yeah. He finds things that people are leaving on the curb and saying, what? You could easily get $500 for this, or you could whatever. And people love watching him do this and analyze it. Or he'll find scrap metal.
Yeah.
And so what he does, though, is he's gotten to a point where people like him specifically, not just the videos and the subject matter, but they like him. Because as he's doing it, oftentimes he'll be very open about, he talks about his Christian faith and he talks about things that are not what you would expect him to talk about, but that makes him seem more real to people. And he told me over lunch one day that the key thing that he did to really get the audience engaged was he would go out of his way. I don't know if he still does it, because some of his videos get millions of views, literally. Mm-hmm. He would reply to every single YouTube comment, every single one. I noticed
that. Yeah.
And that did it. And now he makes, I haven't talked to him about it in quite a while, but he was making well over 5 figures a month with that subscriber base because he got it really engaged. All right. Anyway, I want to get back to your book, but although
that real quick, that goes to something in the book, which is in step 7 about creating raving fans. That's why his fans, the guy that has sent me his videos, is somebody who has literally watched every one of his videos and somebody that's probably commented and interacted with him probably 25 times. My friend who's interacted with him feels like, Pallet is PSM, right? I think it's his acronym. He feels like PSM is a friend. And that's one of the things we talk about, like in creating raving fans, like you've got to interact with them. You've got to respond. You've got to engage with your audience, invite that interaction and that community. And he's done that so well. And that's why, again, his people, his followers feel like this very intimate connection with him. It's pretty amazing.
Well, I was just typing in Scrap and Pallet Man into Google, and one of the recommended search terms is Scrap and Pallet Man latest video. So it's like people are looking for him. They want to see what he's up to. Yeah. Anyway, I love things like this. But this is not taking us a million miles away from your book, because you do have a section that I think we've kind of hit on a little bit about getting people's attention. Mm-hmm. Now, certainly he's gotten the attention of a lot of people. And then, as you say, he's made raving fans out of them. But the thing that I wish I could get him on the show. Maybe I still will be able to. Thing I'd want to know is, how did you get to 230,000? What was the initial thing? And part of it was, he said he experimented with the titles of the videos. Like he says, the title that works the best is, "Can you believe they threw that away?"
Yeah.
People click on that. And so
a bunch of them are named the same thing. Like, why did they throw that away?
Why did they throw that away? Exactly. And then make sure you have a video thumbnail, like with those words all over it, and not just some random thumbnail from the video, but just slap that on there. But the key thing is, as you say, it's like what you face as an author. And I know this from experience. In this day and age, it's easier than ever to become an author. Easier than ever. You have self-publishing. Mm-hmm. You can do it online. It can be done instantly. The books can be printed on demand. You don't have to store them in your garage. Easier than ever, but harder than ever to stand out, just as you say, because it's so easy, so many people can do it. So what do we do once we've figured out, okay, this is the area I want to go into? If I don't have my own offering yet, then I can find other people's products and promote them and make commissions on them. But how do I stand out from everybody else? What are some techniques I can use?
We talked about some of them earlier, just those ways to be able to stand out. The other part that we share in the book is what we call the 5 attention triggers. So these are the things like, okay, yeah, we're standing out with our style and we're differentiating ourselves from the marketplace. What are the ways that we can get that attention, right? The first one is pattern disrupt. So to what you were just talking about with Scrap and Pallet Man, like the pattern disrupt, even though he's named many of his videos, like why would they throw that away or what the heck were they thinking? If you do look at those thumbnails, they disrupt that pattern, because sometimes it's like, well, of course they threw that away. Like that's the thing that most people throw away. So if you're asking the question, why would they throw this thing that most people throw away? That's a pattern disrupt, right? There's a pattern that we've then disrupted. In order to disrupt a pattern, there has to be one, of course. One of the easiest ways to do that, like once you start growing an audience, post at an off-peak time. Send an email at a time that you don't normally email. Like we mail Monday through Saturday, about 9:35 in the morning. So when I send a Sunday 8:30 at night email, it stands out.
Yeah.
Like those have much higher open rates.
Every once in a while, I've emailed at 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And that actually, I mean, I wouldn't do that as a regular practice, but because it's so bizarre, people have to, what do you want?
Again, you have a pattern that you're able to disrupt. Yeah, we did that one time. I'll never forget Ray Edwards, my dear friend, former client. He's a copywriter. Yeah. Actually, that's how I met Bob Bly, was through Ray. And Ray accidentally, his team sent an email that said, insert subject line here as the subject line.
Oh my God.
Had like a 41% open rate compared to like 28% normally. It was like his number 1 or number 2 opened email of the entire year. And the subject line was insert subject line here.
Yeah, now you can only do that. You can only do that once in a while.
One time. If you do it 2 or 3 times, you look like an idiot. But when you do it one time, it stands out. You can't send unless you always do. If you always send a 1:30 in the morning email, then eventually it just becomes your pattern and then you can disrupt it. And we've done that. We accidentally sent emails 8 hours early or 6 hours late just because somebody on a team made a mistake or I did or whatever. No big deal. And oh my gosh, open rates skyrocket. The second one is reward. We all like to be rewarded. So if you can reward people in any way, if there is a way where you can offer a little bit extra, my friend John Rulin, I'm looking at his book right now, Giftology, he calls it surprise and delight. So if you can surprise and delight people with some sort of a reward, that captures attention. The third one is prestige. This is right out of all the persuasion books that have ever been written. You know, the study that talks about the actor in the doctor's coat, how people believe him when he recommends a medicine. That's totally illogical. We know he is not an actual doctor. Newsflash, everyone, George Clooney does not have a medical degree. But when he gets on TV, all he has to do is wear the thing he wears as an actor, and then he recommends a medicine, sales double because of that prestige. That's why I've said things like 4-time affiliate manager of the year. That's a prestige. Working with Tony Robbins and guys like that, that's a certain level of prestige. The fourth one is uncertainty. Anything you can do to insert uncertainty into the dialogue, those open loops, the to be continued. There's a reason why, like when I was a child, before you had binge watching, when there was a to be continued episode on Wednesday night and we had to wait 7 days to watch the next episode, what did we talk about all week? That episode. What was going to happen? Is he going to come back? Are they going to kick, is he going to get kicked off the show? What's going to happen? Like all those things are what we talked about. And then the last one is the recognition. So as much as you can, exactly what we just talked about. He acknowledged his audience. And that's one of the ways that he stood out, because a lot of people are quote unquote too big for their britches and they don't respond to people. I noticed that with you, Tom. Like you respond to people. You can't respond to literally everyone, but you take the time to actually respond to as many people as you can. So people are like, Tom's a good dude. You know what? I'm going to go buy his thing. And so long-term, that recognition side, as much as you can recognize people, call them by name. If you're doing a webinar and there's people like, well, I only get like 10 or 15 people on, you know what? That's an opportunity to literally recognize every single one of them. You can recognize all 15 people, call them by name on that webinar. I am telling you right now, if you want a quick way to increase your webinar sales, just mention some people by name and your sales will go up. But those are those ways that stand out more so than just generic content.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. I mean, you sound like the kind of person who finds the silver lining in everything. I would be horrified if I had only 15 people on a webinar, but that would be how I would.
Today, yeah. But when you were first starting,
when you're first starting, I mean, I'd probably be dancing a jig, but I would in particular realize this is an opportunity. I will engage with them far better and in a more lasting way than I ever could if I had 500 to start with. And maybe these 15 stick with me for a long time. And then they open my emails and they do what I want. They listen, they take my advice, stuff like that. Now, I just made a presentation to, if you can believe this, the daughter I mentioned is in an entrepreneurship class. Very rare for high school to have that, but hers does.
I love that.
And so they had me give a presentation about what I do. And I actually made slides, and the students actually said to me later, we've had a bunch of people come in here, and you were the best because you were organized and we were interested in what you said. And, that's very nice of you to say. But I ran through with them exactly what I do. And I said, now look, I do like 9 or 10 different things, and I'm only going to pick one to tell you about. But I basically laid out the kind of model that you lay out in your book. And I gave them the bird's eye overview. And then I said, anybody in this room can do this. I did not come from another planet. Anybody in this room can do this. And yeah, it's true. I have a bunch of people on my mailing list, but I didn't come out of the womb like that. I had to work to do that. So I'm going to show you how you do it. And I started it off by saying, by the way, on the plane on the way over here, while I was taking a nap, here's how much money came in. I told them that was how I started the story. That got their attention. Wait a minute, what? While you were sleeping on a plane. Yeah, you want to know how I did that? And it's completely on the up and up. I don't have associates robbing a bank while I'm on the plane, whatever. So I went through and I told them the whole thing. And the nice thing was, because they're 17, they still have that youthful optimism about the world.
Exactly.
They don't immediately say, oh, this can't possibly work. Oh, this must be a scam of some kind that you're running or whatever. And I can't talk to people like that. I can't talk to people like that. But these kids, they were willing to listen. They were saying, well, this all makes sense. It all makes sense how you do it. So how would you, if you had to make an elevator pitch to somebody, how would you describe the overview of exactly the model you're describing, what the parts are and how they fit together? What exactly are you asking of someone?
Yeah, usually in a pinch, I just tell them I'm a drug dealer.
Okay. Well, suppose you have a little longer than that.
No, sometimes that's easier to describe. Yeah, the kind of the elevator pitch of what I do is we help people exactly what the book says, turn their passions into profits. And how that starts, we've been through kind of what we do there, the getting clear, being a leader. That's a big one. Capturing attention. The next big one is the converting visitors into subscribers. And I know that's a big thing of what you do. Like you have to be able to build that email list. And one of the biggest things, like when I'm talking to people like 17 to 25 years old, maybe even like late 20s, who grew up with social media is social media is not where it's at. You can get attention on social media. You can find your audience on social media, but that's not your audience. And I know you're a big believer in this. Like, you have to turn it into an email list. You have to turn it into a list that you own. You have to be able to do that. You have to be able to turn it into a place where you're guaranteed to be seen, because newsflash, Facebook doesn't show you everything. Instagram doesn't show you everything. Nothing shows you everything. They have the algorithms that determine that. Gmail doesn't decide which emails it's actually going to deliver to you. It shows you all of them. And so we have to be able to do that. We have to be able to turn them into a list, because I did an exercise. I went through and I went on to Google and I typed in email marketing is dead. And I put in, show me all results from 2005. Then show me all the results from 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10, so on and so forth. Every year, there are 50,000 people saying email marketing is dead. And every year they have been wrong. It's like Zig Ziglar said, economists have predicted 22 of the last 2 recessions, right? They're wrong. It's never been dead. And so this whole idea, like the biggest thing I have to break with them, Tom, is like this thing that, in order to build a business, you have to get famous on TikTok. No, you just have to build an email list. And that email list is going to outlive Facebook. It's going to outlive TikTok. It's going to outlive Twitter. No matter who owns Twitter, I'd rather have an email list. And so that's really the biggest thing when I teach people, like, ultimately, what do I do? Is I help them grow the list and then monetize the list. And break it down into the 2 core things: grow the list. Probably that intermediary step that we talk about in step 5, 6, and 7 in the book is like how to turn those people into raving fans. And then we monetize the list.
Yeah, that is it. That is it. And once you've done that, now that takes some time to build an email list. But I'm telling, again, I cannot repeat this enough. If people had any idea, any remote idea how potentially lucrative it is to have an email list, they would stop doing whatever they're doing and they would devote themselves to it with whatever energy they had in their spare time. And they would find spare time. If they say they don't have any, they would find it. If they had any idea, that's why I talk about that. Like, it doesn't strictly matter to me if anybody creates an email list and becomes prosperous. My life is completely unaffected. So it doesn't bother me if nobody wants to. Well, it does bother me, but it doesn't affect me in the sense that my life continues as before. I only talk about this because I know, because my friends do it, because I do it, and I see so few people in my tribe, let's say, who do this kind of thing. I mean, we have Connor Boyack, which you mentioned, the Tuttle Twins series. Yeah. He has a great email list, flourishing. And he uses that list to help families. There's nothing scammy about that. He helps families with that list. There's no denying that. Or my friend John Bush, who is knowledgeable about Bitcoin. He's knowledgeable about buying property in the country and building. He's knowledgeable about nutrition and all kinds of therapies and whatever. He knows it all. And so what does he do? He has an email list. And what does he do with that list? He helps people solve problems because he has the solutions and he emails them the solutions. Yep. The problem is, I have things I really think are going to help people. I have my Liberty Classroom program, and I have my School of Life program, and I have my books and this and that. And I wish I had armies of libertarians with audiences, particularly email lists, who could help me reach the people I can't reach. And unfortunately, right now, it's Connor and John. And I wish it were 1 million more people, because it would be better for me, and it would be way better for them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll give you some numbers real quick, and you probably know these numbers anecdotally, like maybe not the exact ones. If you compare email to just social media, right? An email subscriber is worth 28 times what a Facebook fan is worth. An email subscriber is worth roughly 74 times what a Twitter follower is worth. And get this one, an email subscriber is worth 225 times what a YouTube subscriber is worth.
Wow. I didn't realize so much more than YouTube.
Yeah. For the average person. Now, if you've got like millions of YouTube subscribers, clearly, if you got 5 million YouTube subscribers, you got that. I am not suggesting that in that case, it's worth 225 times what having 5 million email subscribers would be worth. Or reverse that, sorry, because some of those people with tons and tons of YouTube subscribers can do things that people with, say, 25,000 followers on YouTube can't do. But for the average YouTube subscriber, 225 times more is what an email subscriber is worth. Because on YouTube, they're going in and it's like quick hitters. They're viewing these things. It's shorts. They're not buying. They're not in a buying mood. With an email list, you've got a deeper connection. You're guaranteed to be seen. You can segment your messaging. Like when I go post on Facebook, I'm posting to men. I'm posting to women, old people, young people, black, white, libertarian. There's even a few people on there that might not be, like I'm posting to different people, but I can segment my email list. I know, for example, we've done a webinar together. And I know exactly on my list who came from the webinar that you did. And you bet that when we market to them, not everything, like here's a podcast episode about how to start an affiliate program. I mean, that's going to be a basic message. We're not going to segment that one. But of course, we segment to the Tom Woods people versus somebody who came from another list. It might be a little bit, let's just say less libertarian. You can allow them to opt out of campaigns. Like that's the thing is I can't go on Facebook and post 6 times a day and say, buy my book, buy my book, buy my book. I can send 6 emails in a day to my list and say, buy my book, because I can put a thing in there that says, hey, don't want to hear any more about my book? Just click here and I won't tell you any more about it. They just might not be interested. Maybe they already bought it.
But they stay on the list. Nevertheless,
but they stay on the list. There's not the nuclear. And then the last one is you own that connection. Like if you remember MySpace, back in 2008, I had a pretty decent following for just some schmo from at that time, Franklin, Tennessee. I had about 35,000 MySpace friends. I made money from MySpace. That money completely went away in 6 months. Now, just to be clear, I wasn't making tens of thousands of dollars, but I was making a couple $1,000s a month from my MySpace friends. We were doing some pretty cool stuff back then for that time. I was renting those contacts versus my email list. I own the connection. And that's something just a little quick tip. One of the things that we do every single day, we have a backup. Every single day, we back up our email list. It's automated. We back up our email list. So even if the company that runs my email somehow went out of business or decided we don't like something you said in an email, somebody complained that you mentioned Ron Paul too much and we're going to kick you off our platform, then I still have a download. I have an Excel file of all those people. We can just upload it to another system same day and be up and running. So I own the connections versus any of the social media platforms. I don't even know who the people are. I can't download my Facebook followers and say, oh, just keep those and move them over to such and such platform if I get deplatformed.
Hey, folks, quick sponsor message from Blinkist. Can you imagine every single day driving in your car, you could do the equivalent of reading 2 or 3 books? Because Blinkist will summarize thousands and thousands of nonfiction books across dozens of categories so that you can get the main ideas, no fluff, no waste of your time, in 15 minutes. So we're talking about personal development books. You can build a skill or good habits by listening to the Blinkist summaries of these books, or works of history, or current events, or indeed libertarian classics by Murray Rothbard or Milton Friedman. You can get the key ideas injected straight into your brain. And how about this? Their brand new feature, Blinkist Connect, allows all premium users to share their account with another person of your choice. So it's 2 premium accounts, essentially, for the price of 1. There's no extra cost for using it. So you can share these summaries with just 1 click, and you can add your comments and thoughts and generate a discussion back and forth. Right now, Blinkist has a special offer just for our audience. Go to Blinkist.com/Woods to start your 7-day free trial and get 25% off a Blinkist premium membership. That's Blinkist, spelled Blinkist, Blinkist.com/Woods to get 25% off and a 7-day free trial. Blinkist.com/Woods. And now for a limited time, you can even use Blinkist Connect to share your premium account. You'll get 2 premium subscriptions for the price of 1. Yesterday I was on other people's podcasts. I recorded an episode with a guy named, I think you might know Igor Kafetz.
I do. I was just talking with him.
Yeah. So I was on his podcast and he was asking me some great questions. Then I was on with a guy you might not know, Charles Harper. We're going to do something together next year. I absolutely love that guy. And they were asking me different questions from what I get, of course, on Libertarian podcasts. And first of all, I just think it's cool that I know a guy named Igor. But
I do too. I've always kind of been fascinated by that one.
Well, so he asked me, okay, going back however many years, what would you do differently given the knowledge you have now? Let me ask you about that, because your book basically spells out how to pick what area you're going to go into, how to build people who are interested in what you're interested in, and then basically you monetize that. And then everything else from that is gravy. Everything else from that really is gravy. What would you do differently?
I do one thing differently, but it kind of ties into 2 different areas. The big thing I would do differently is how I started my email list. And I walk people through what I did with my second business when I actually kind of knew what the heck I was doing. And I show them like, hey, you don't have to screw up like I did. My first one, here's a quick way to get your first few hundred. This is not the how do you get 10,000 subscribers in 6 months book, but how do I get 300 to 700 people pretty quickly, days or weeks to follow me and begin to monetize and begin to, okay, I've got 500 people on my email list. You know what you can do with 500 people on your email list? Not go full time, but you can make $1,000 to $1,500 a month. And that's it. When you make something, this as a businessman, like 0 to anything is infinitely harder and more meaningful than scaling from $100,000 to $1 million.
Yeah.
Like just making anything, like it changes everything. And so for me, it came down to a couple of things. And there's a quote in the book I share from John Acuff says, never compare your beginning to someone else's middle.
Right.
And for me, it was just like, okay, guys, I'm going to say you follow Tom and you see like, I'm not blowing smoke up your butt here, Tom. I mean, your emails are the ones that I forward to our copywriter the most of anybody. Okay.
Oh, thank you.
At least once every 3 weeks, I'm like, sending Gary an email like, dude, love this. Oh, look at the third paragraph and how he did this. And, look at blah, blah, blah. Like, and let's model our stuff after that. And so I'm forwarding him stuff all the time. But we look at that and go, I can't write emails like Tom. Well, neither could Tom 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah. I have no training in this. I just learned. I found out who the good people are and I learned from them.
Yeah. Ben Settle and people like that, I know. And we look at Tom's website and go, I can't make a website like Tom. Neither could Tom 10 years ago.
And neither could Tom today. but I know who to outsource it to, right?
We look at these things like, okay, Tom has all these great lead magnets that you can download and they're polished and they look amazing and they have great opt-in rates. I can't do that. Neither could Tom 3 years ago.
Right.
And so one of the things that I walk through in the book, this is probably the biggest, most important lesson in the book is this idea around lead magnets, because we have to have something that attracts people to our list other than, sign up for my newsletter, because newsflash, nobody wants to be on your newsletter. We don't want more emails. What we want is a lead magnet. And so people think that like we see Tom's and we see even our lead magnets today. We've got some amazing ones and we had a graphic designer and they're polished and they look amazing. My lead magnets 5 years ago, which were almost as effective, quite frankly, were butt ugly.
Well, hold on. Let me tell people what a lead magnet is. A lead magnet would be like my ebook that you get in order to get on my mailing list. So for you want the ebook, I want you on my mailing list, and that's how it works. And then you can always unsubscribe from my mailing list. There's an unsubscribe link by law in every issue. Or it could be a video of a speech I gave that nobody else has. And I'll say, hey, this is where I reveal all my secrets. Got to give me your email address and I'll send it to you. But you say in your book something that's very important. You don't have to write an ebook. I mean, the idea of writing an ebook to most people, I mean, they'd rather gouge their eyes out. I had somebody, Tim Page, I don't know if he's still at Lead Pages, but I did a webinar with him once and he said they tested it at Lead Pages. They said, all right, we're going to release an ebook, a video course, and a checklist. And we're going to checklist wins every time.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And the checklist takes an hour for you to make. The ebook takes weeks. The video course takes weeks.
We call it the 3-hour rule.
Isn't that amazing?
You cannot take more than 3 hours to create a lead magnet when you're starting off. Because what people heard there was, well, Tom, I can't write an ebook. Tom, I don't give speeches. Tom goes and does a speech for an hour. That's how I ended up on your list years and years ago. Was there was some speech you gave and I was like, I want to see it. Okay, so you're not speaking. So then don't do that. Here's the deal. They don't have to be fancy. They don't have to be super in-depth. Like your lead magnet, this is the key point, must address an immediate or pressing need or want in your target audience. That's it. Like the super complex, we got 12 examples and 14 templates and they, takes me an hour and a half to consume that hour-long video that Tom produced. That was for me. It's for some people. Most people would go, I don't want to watch an hour-long video of Tom. I've never even heard of this guy. Why would I watch an hour? I'd already heard of you. So I was interested versus most people coming to your website for the first time. You offer them an hour-long video and they're like, screw that. They're overwhelming. They never consume them. They never act on them. They never go through the product. So they have a bad first impression. And so the big key here is quick win. Offer them a quick win, a solution to pain. If you've got a friend who comes to you and they're like, oh my gosh, man, my back is killing me. And you go, oh, read this ebook. It's got 42 exercises you can do over the next 6 months to improve your back pain.
No.
You are no longer my friend. Give me freaking Tylenol. I need something that's quick. Now, here's the deal. You give me the medicine that helps me feel better right away, or you send me to a chiropractor in 30 minutes who can pop my back and make me be able to walk again. I'll then do the exercises. In fact, I will pay you for the exercises. But early on, I don't want the exercise. I just want to feel better right now. I am hurting. And so I said Alan's story earlier is my favorite in the book. My second favorite story in the book is my dad. My dad passed away 17 years ago. And my dad was never owned a computer, never got on the internet as far as I know, never owned a cell phone, but he had the best lead magnet, Tom. And I've shared this story and so many people are like, I had a guy the other day, he's running a 7-figure business. And he said, Matt, I read your book. He was interviewing me for his podcast. I read your books. This applies to beginners too, but obviously even more advanced people. And I went back and I re-engineered. I read the story of your dad and I re-engineered my lead magnet and we doubled our opt-in rate overnight. And I was like, that's amazing. So my dad had the perfect lead magnet that I've ever seen. Like I said, never even been on the internet. My dad was a golf instructor and my dad would walk up and down the practice tee at the golf course. For you golfers out there, you can picture this. If you're not, just imagine a driving range at a golf course. And my dad would look for somebody who was in pain, not like physical pain, but like the type of person who would hit a shot and then slam their club on the ground and mutter something to themselves. I hate this stupid game and I'm going to quit and blah, blah, blah. And he'd say, hey, can I offer you a quick tip? And they say, yeah. And he'd spend 5 minutes with them, not an hour. And he didn't teach them about the complexity of the swing plane and how to do 14 things with your golf swing to make it better and lower your score by 10 shots around. He gave them one tip to help them with the one thing that they were struggling with right now. They're hitting the ball to the right, and he would give them one tip to be able to hit a little bit straighter. And they'd turn to him and go, oh my gosh, that's the best shot I've hit in months. How do I get more lessons? And he'd sell them a $1,000 golf instruction package.
Yeah.
That's all a lead magnet is. That's it.
Yeah, that is it. That is it. It draws people to you like a magnet because you've got one simple, finite thing to tell them. And the thing is, you might think the more I give them, the more they're going to want to opt in.
Nope.
But because I think we all know each other well enough to know I'm never going to get to your 20 video course. I'm never, ever going to get to it. I know it. You know it. The American people know it, as Bob Dole would say. We all know it. No one's ever going to watch that video course. So I'm not opting in for it. But I'll opt in if you're going to say, here are the 10 resources you need if you want to start off being a successful author or learning how to get published or whatever. I got a checklist with either the 10 tasks you need to complete or the 10 resources you need or the 10 people you need to talk to, whatever it is. That's what they want. And that's great to know because you wouldn't guess that. You would think if I have some big elaborate thing, they're going to prefer that. It turns out they don't. And secondly, the big elaborate thing takes you forever. And I am so happy to be telling everybody listening to this that you can save yourself some time and not do that. And you may say, but Woods, you don't do that. And I know because I'm dumb. I'm stuck in my old ways, right? You can't teach an old dog new tricks. If I were smart, I wouldn't keep doing this. But I'm not smart. That's my problem. I want you to be smart.
Yeah. I mean, a very simple formula for creating a great lead magnet. Number one, define the one problem. Number two, solve that one problem.
Yeah.
Don't solve a second problem. That's it. What is the one problem? Dry skin. Great. Solve that one problem. Now, if they come to you and you solve their dry skin, then you can talk to them about how to do all these other things that will improve their health. But you can't. Who would download a lead magnet? Who wants to read a book? Solve your dry skin, eyesight, toenail fungus, and 42 other things in one. I don't want that. I Googled how to solve dry skin. I want to solve that. I Googled how to grow tomatoes in a cold environment. That's just give me that one thing that I came here for. And then I'll listen to you on everything else because there's that perceived expertise. When you're an expert at one thing, it's called the halo effect. People just assume that you know 500 other things, but they came to you for that one thing.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Now, this has been a very unconventional interview because I've kind of jumped all over the place, just talked as things have occurred to me. But I think it's obvious from how thorough your answers are that you really are one of the go-to people on this. So a couple things I want to say, and I kept you way longer than I said I would. So just another lesson we've learned from this episode, don't trust Woods on questions of time management. So the book is Turn Your Passions into Profits, the proven path for building a rewarding online business. The other thing I want to say really quickly is the way you've promoted this book is such a model for people promoting books because as a pre-order before, January 10th, 2023?
Yeah.
As a pre-order, you're giving away $785 worth of bonuses. And they are legitimately valued at that. They're digitally delivered bonuses. So it's not like you have to send a half a gold coin or something to somebody. So it's easy for you to do this. But it's irresistible. I mean, who in his right mind wouldn't pick up this book? Yeah, all you have to do is pay for one book, and then you get all this training. You get access. You're doing like a live thing where people can ask you questions. It's a brilliant way of launching a book. So do we want to give that website too?
Yeah.
In addition to I'll put the link to Amazon on the show notes.
Yeah, I mean, you can get it on Amazon. You can get it Barnes & Noble, Target, Walmart. I mean, if they sell books, like we had an order come in today for 4 books to some bookshop in Hamilton, Ontario. So if they sell books, they sell my book. But the best place to get it, guys, is passionsintoprofitsbook.com/woods. If you go to that, I know Tom will put it in the show notes for you. Go to that. That's where you'll get all the extra bonuses that we'll have there. And for just so you know, for those of you who are like, Matt, it's January 31st, or it's, I'm listening to this in 2024. What do? That URL will actually have some extra special bonuses just for your listeners, Tom, even after the January 10th deadline.
Oh, well, thank you.
For those of you who jump on it now, they're a little bit better, but we've still got some extra special ones at that URL. So that's the best place to go, guys, just because there's no reason, like Tom said, it's like you're going to get the book anyway. Like, why not just get a bunch of extra stuff?
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to help you. And all it is, it's stuff that enhances what's in the book. There's an email marketing masterclass. There's an entire video course on identifying your ideal customer avatar. We touch on it a little bit in the book, but it's like the publisher gives you 80,000 words. And well, that's 30,000 in and of itself, and it's called How to Turn Your Passions into Profits, not how to get your avatar and 2 other things. So so go grab the bonuses in passionsintoprofitsbook.com/woods.
Okay, so I'll have that linked at tomwoods.com/2258. Again, it's passionsintoprofitsbook.com/woods. Even if you don't want to buy the book, which is a bad idea, you should at least buy it for your kids. But even if you don't, you should go there anyway, just as an example of a brilliant way to market a book. If I am ever crazy enough to write another book, and I have restrained myself for 8 years, it's been 8 years since I last released a book, I would be crazy not to do it this way. Because again, how could I resist buying it? Even if I don't care about this book, I have to buy it anyway because I need all this stuff. This is really smart. I saw John Lee Dumas do the same thing with his, I'm not going to give his title because I want to focus on your book, but I've seen this now done by several people, and it is a smart idea. And it's another example of why not take advantage of what technology makes possible. You couldn't have promoted a book this way a generation ago. You could not have. The technology didn't exist.
Nope.
But now you have a system where you can automatically deliver bonuses to people. Like, it's not like Matt is staying up at 3 a.m. Oh, somebody bought one. I better email them the bonuses. This is all automated. It's an amazing thing. So check it out. Matt, I kept you way too long. We ranted about a lot of some inside baseball stuff, but a lot of stuff that ought to be of general interest to anybody who wants to protect his lifestyle and his well-being in a world that has shown us it is capable of throwing even the most secure person a really, really unexpected curveball. So thanks again, Matt, for your time.
Thanks, Tom. And I will say, I, for one, quite frankly, I'm tired of listening to the politically incorrect book. Yeah, I root for you to write another one soon.
I appreciate that.
I'm gonna throw that out there and see if that gets any comments.
And then when I release it, we'll promote it like this, and you can be my affiliate manager.
I know a guy. Yeah, I've run a few book launches over the years. So,
all right. Thanks, Matt. Take care.
Thanks, Tom.
All right, folks. That is another episode of the Tom Woods Show. I will see you tomorrow.
Become a smarter libertarian in just 30 minutes a day. Visit tomwoods.com to subscribe to the show for free, and we'll see you next time.
Like the sound of the Tom Woods Show? My audio production is provided by Podsworth Media. Check them out at podsworth.com.